sit, baby. Come on, man.
Got the hand in. Hands in means all for one for all.
Man, this is it. Let's go out and give our best.
What time is it? Game time!
The stage was set for history. The Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz. Two teams, one goal. Deadlocked with identical 62-20 records in the regular season, Utah had swept the season series against Chicago, securing home court advantage, and after both squads fought through grueling conference battles, the rematch of the '97 finals was officially on. The Jazz struck first in Game 1.
Hall of Fame player. Look at the shot that Stockton has to take.
The Bulls pounced back, taking 3 straight.
Do you still feel like you guys are the underdog?
No, we're in the driver's seat right now, and we just have to come out ready to play next game and try to put it away.
Then, with everything on the line in Game 5, Michael Jordan had the ball, the clock winding down, a chance to send Utah packing. And he missed. An 83-81 victory kept the Jazz alive.
Their confidence or their overconfidence was our biggest, positive, our biggest strength going into this.
Game 6 was heading back to Utah, and for the Bulls, the odds couldn't have been worse. Scottie Pippen's back was shot. Ron Harper was sick. The Bulls were limping into Utah, barely holding it together. Meanwhile, the Jazz had home court advantage, momentum, and 20,000 screaming fans ready to push them to a Game 7. Chicago had already let Game 5 slip through their fingers. Michael Jordan had the ball in his hands, a chance to end the series, and he missed. Now in Game 6, the pressure was suffocating. The Bulls were battered, exhausted, outnumbered. The Jazz could smell blood. That was their moment. June 14th, 1998. That was the night Michael Jordan was truly alone. And somehow, he didn't just survive. He delivered the greatest ending in NBA history.
4-4 on the road in the playoffs, and in fact have lost 4 of their last 5 road games.
The moment the ball tipped, it was clear. This wasn't just another game. Chicago and Utah came out trading blows, matching each other shot for shot. Scottie Pippen, bad back and all, dropped a smooth hook shot to put the Bulls up 12-8, forcing an early timeout. But if anyone thought Utah was ready to roll over, they were sadly mistaken. Then Michael Jordan found his rhythm. A deep 3 splashed through the net, igniting a 9-0 Bulls run. Chicago was rolling until things got sloppy.
Stockton. Harper right now is on Malone.
3 illegal defense calls in 1 quarter? If you weren't around for 90s basketball, let's just say this rule was like getting a speeding ticket for driving 1 mile over the limit. Too far from your man? Violation. Not quite doubling? Violation. The NBA was out here policing spacing like it was a crime. Thankfully, someone with common sense finally got rid of it. But Utah head coach Jerry Sloan wasn't having it. Before the second illegal defense could even be enforced, Sloan lost his mind. He got so animated, the refs had to call a double technical, sending Jordan and Jeff Hornacek to the line for free throws. Chicago pushed their lead to 9, but just when it seemed like the Bulls were taking control, Utah punched right back. Antoine Carr came off the bench and went to work immediately, making an instant impact. Hornacek buried a transition 3, and just like that, the lead was down to 1. Karl Malone added to the Jazz momentum, but Bill Wennington finally stopped the bleeding for Chicago. Then came the final minute, Jordan versus Malone. The 2 superstars traded blows, throwing haymakers before the quarter ended, with Jordan missing at the buzzer.
Final shot and misses it.
Bulls 22, Jazz 25.
Guys, as we begin the second quarter with Utah up by 3, something significant. They were able to make a run and turn this game around a bit.
This wasn't going to be easy. Utah came ready for war. With Jordan on the bench, the Bulls had to keep the game from slipping away. Dennis Rodman found Tony Kukoc for a smooth bucket. But the Jazz weren't about to let Chicago gain ground. Howard Easley drained a deep 3 as the shot clock expired, except it didn't count. On the replay, clear as day. Easley got the shot off with a full second left, but the refs waved it off. A brutal call, and Jerry Sloan knew it. But with a technical already under his belt, he couldn't risk getting tossed. The Jazz had to eat it, and it later ended up being an important call in the game. It was quite an unfortunate sequence for the Jazz. Meanwhile, the Bulls needed a spark, and with 9 minutes left in the half, MJ stepped back onto the floor and the game instantly felt different. The Bulls chipped away at Utah's lead, and with under 7 minutes to go, Jordan had them back within 1 point. But the rest of the quarter was a slugfest. Neither team could get any breathing room. But one thing became painfully obvious. Karl Malone was unstoppable. Rodman tried. Luke Longley tried. It didn't matter.
Malone tries to answer.
The mailman wasn't missing deliveries. But while Malone was bullying the Bulls inside, Byron Russell had his own nightmare to deal with. Because on the other end, Jordan was cooking him. MJ dropped 15 points in the quarter, single-handedly keeping the Bulls in it. But even his brilliance wasn't enough to take the lead as the Jazz were still ahead 49-45. Utah had the edge, Jordan had the fire, and the second half was about to get legendary.
The Jazz lead the Bulls by 4. Now the big story here in the first half has been the condition of Scottie Pippen's back. He has really been hurting.
As the second half began, Scottie Pippen re-entered the game, but the moment he stepped onto the court, it was clear he had no business being out there. Every step looked painful. He was grimacing, laboring up and down the floor, but there was no way he was sitting out. And this wasn't just about playing. It was about pride, grit, and a refusal to quit.
And as he goes up for the shot, that leaves Rodman's clear for a clear tap in on the offense.
What he did is something that may never be fully realized in NBA history.
Scottie Pippen changed a lot of things for the Chicago Bulls. If he wasn't there, I think they would have won a lot of them games. He got the crucial rebounds, he got the crucial block.
But it was that act of determination that showed why that era of the NBA had some of the toughest players ever to play the game. In an era built on toughness, Pippen's willingness to fight through excruciating pain was a testament to why 90s basketball was as brutal as it was legendary. But tough or not, Karl Malone wasn't about to slow down. Right out of the break, the mailman went straight to work, attacking the rim for an easy layup. By this point, Malone had already racked up 22 points and 4 assists, torching Chicago with an absurd 9 for 12 shooting performance. For the Bulls, Michael Jordan had 23 points and 1 assist and made 9 of his 19 attempts from the field. And Jordan was doing what he always did, keeping the Bulls alive. He was in full attack mode, living at the mid-range, picking his shots, and refusing to let the game get away from him. Then things got physical. Rodman and Malone got tangled up again. Eventually the refs had enough, calling a flagrant foul on Rodman. Except, was it? Upon review, the officials downgraded the call to a common foul because this was just another day in the trenches for these two. Oh, and here's the fun part. After the finals, Rodman and Malone were set to wrestle each other at a World Championship Wrestling pay-per-view. The Utah crowd had no idea they were getting a free preview of a match that would later be broadcast nationwide.
And they're going to meet somewhere in between.
Here's Pippen. The bad back makes Hornacek's assignment on him a whole lot easier.
As the third quarter rolled on, Jordan didn't let up. Neither did Pippen, bad back and all. But despite their fight, Utah still had control, ahead by 5 points, 61-66. The Bulls had one more quarter to change history.
As we start the fourth quarter, Michael Jordan is...
The Bulls walked into the final quarter of the season down 5, exhausted and running on fumes. Michael Jordan had played every single game that year, through the regular season and playoffs, and at this point, it wasn't just about skill, it was about survival. But survival is what legends do. Jordan opened the quarter drawing contact, stepping to the line, and knocking down both free throws. Then, with Shandon Anderson draped all over him, he buried another jumper.
Against Anderson.
The Bulls were within 3. The comeback was brewing. And then, in a moment straight out of an alternate universe, Dennis Rodman, yes, Dennis Rodman buried a 20-footer. The shot forced Jerry Salone to throw Karl Malone back into the fight. And Utah needed him because Chicago wasn't backing down. But at this point, Jordan was drained.
Between the legs and the jumper.
He had nothing left to give on defense. He had to save every last ounce of energy for the moments that mattered most. But even on fumes, he found a way to deliver. With under 7 minutes left, he stepped up to the top of the key and drilled a jumper, giving the Bulls their first lead of the quarter. But the Jazz weren't going down easy. Karl Malone kept punishing Chicago, overpowering defenders, and keeping Utah alive. On the other side, Scottie Pippen, barely able to move, refused to let his team down. And then, with 41.9 seconds left, the entire season flipped. John Stockton hit a wide-open three to give the Jazz an 86-83 lead. It looked like Game 7 was inevitable. The Bulls had never gone the distance in the finals before, and Utah had all the momentum. But Michael Jordan had other plans. Straight out of the timeout, he blew past Byron Russell, soared to the rim, and laid it in. Bulls down 1, 37.1 seconds left. On Utah's next possession, Jordan lurked like a predator. Malone got the ball in the post, a spot where he had dominated all night. But just as he turned, Jordan struck, sneaking behind him and ripping the ball away. Then came the moment, the most famous shot in NBA history. With 9 seconds left, Jordan walked the ball up the court, Russell in front of him. One quick move, a subtle push, and Russell stumbled, and Jordan took advantage. With 5.2 seconds left, Jordan had done it again. His 45th point, his 16th of the quarter, the shot that froze time. Utah called timeout. One last chance. Stockton got the ball, rose for a desperate three, missed. The buzzer sounded. The dynasty was complete. For the 6th time in 8 years, the Chicago Bulls were NBA champions. And at the center of it all was Michael Jordan standing alone in history. 45 points, 4 steals, one last dagger. It wasn't his most dominant game. It wasn't his most efficient game, but it was the one that mattered most. Because just months later, he walked away. Jordan announced his retirement, saying he was 99.9% sure he was done.
I am here to announce my retirement from the game of basketball. It won't be another announcement to baseball or anything to that nature.
And just like that, the most cinematic career in sports history had its closing scene. Think about it. The buzzer beater at North Carolina, to battling the Pistons, to the first three-peat, the baseball experiment, the comeback, the flu game, 72 wins, and then this.
Mode, the backup and the fadeaway, and he hits the jump shot, and he comes back.
Every chapter built to this moment. A perfect steal, a perfect shot, a perfect ending. The shrug, the layup, the flu game, the double nickel, the Knicks con, the last shot. Jordan didn't just dominate the NBA. He turned it into his own personal mythology. And that shot over Byron Russell? This wasn't just the greatest moment of Jordan's career. It was the greatest moment the NBA has ever seen.